API Conference, Elevating API Literacy.
So the first question is, what recent difficulties have you encountered in aligning the API frameworks of your respective companies with local regulations?
Yeah, so for me, I work in a gift card company, and okay, so for me, I work in a gift card company, and not like the traditional payments that we used to do. It's basically based on gift card. And again, gift card can also be used for money laundering, right? So what we basically have to do is that we need to like audit all requests. So compared to maybe industries whereby you just like maybe audit your payload and stuff, like we are very, very new on what we do. And because we also work with top brands like Amazon, Uber, and the likes, they don't want to hear stories, right? So what we basically do is you audit everything, including the request, the headers, and also the response as well too, such that you have like every detailed information as to how money is going into the account and also how money is going out. So that is how we basically handle such here.
A round of applause for that answer.
Thank you, Larry. But I would diversify a bit. So I will come to our local, and I will use a practical example. Like I don't know, a lot of you have used Flutterwave BVN data, BVN record to fetch BVN. So I'll come local. Recently, CBN came up to say for you to be able to get the BVN data of individuals, they must give consent. I don't know if anyone here. Great. That's a very practical example because initially you can get register with Flutterwave and then be able to pull data, right? But now there was a new regulation, an updated regulation from CBN to say, you know what? Before you can get the consent, you can get the data, BVN data of a customer, you must get consent. So the user must give you consent, right? So now this is a new regulation. Imagine that you already have your platform ready, you already integrated Flutterwave to pull information. But now this is a new one. So now how you regulate that is you building your infrastructure in such a way that it is scalable for you to be able to adapt new compliance regulation. I don't know if that makes sense. I just want to bring it down to the local. So that's where I would handle it. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer.
Okay, so I work for a blockchain company, and
Sorry. Please, can we have one house? Please, can we have one house? Thank you very much.
all right, I work for a blockchain company, and anyone that knows blockchain in this country will know that the blockchain industry and the regulatory bodies are at loggerheads, and we are no strangers to regulatory issues. For instance, I think sometime in 2022 we came up with this like API to help people do like on ramp, off ramp. Basically, you should be able to like withdraw money from any blockchain protocol straight into your bank account. And then we got a letter immediately from SEC. So months later, we went back and we built a product using like Social Connect. With this one, you should be able to like transact using your phone number. So using your phone number, you should be able to send money to someone in Kenya and someone in Uganda or wherever around the world. And what happened again? We got another letter from the SEC. So how we basically go about navigating things like that is basically partnering with the local bodies, because there are people on ground here who do carry out activities like this. So we ended up partnering with Kotami Pay. We ended up partnering with people like Beatmama to help with like local off-ramping here in the country. So I guess the one thing we did learn is we can't solve Nigerian problems basically from San Francisco.
Thank you very much. A round of applause.
Yeah. All right. So it's actually very challenging, honestly, to keep up with the constant changes of regulatory requirements. For everybody that has been in the space, it's just like a summary of all they've said. Regulatory requirements keep changing. As in, you can wake up tomorrow and see a circular from CBN, for example, that there's a certain requirement needed for you to be able to process payments. I work for a payment company, payment processing company, for example, and these are some of the things that are like challenges that we actually face. So what I'm actually trying to say is, for all of these challenges, they do exist. And for the fact that the regulatory requirements are very much unstable. You can just wake up one day, one circular has come out, And if you keep on doing what you are doing, you will see yourself defaulting what the regulators are actually doing. And you know what that is. They can actually come for your licenses, come for your certifications, crumble your business. So you have to like make sure that at every single point in time, you are really much up to date with all of the recent and new announcements from regulatory compliance bodies, and then you ensure that you are aligned with them as the requirements actually come out. So it's the fast pace and the instability kind of that is present within the regulatory bodies. Not only CBN, we have a lot of them. We have NDPR, for example. They too come with their own regulatory requirements that you are and you have to like comply with. So catching up with them is a very difficult challenge, but it's very much achievable.
Thank you. Still hold on for me. Still hold on for me. Okay, so the next question is for Wale. Wale, how can startups in the tech ecosystem remain compliant without stifling innovation?
Okay, so that's actually a very smart question, though. In as much as we know that regulators are there to actually regulate and put control into the activities of not necessarily fintechs now, startups basically. And we know that sometimes these regulatory requirements could seem as if they're like anti-innovation sometimes. But we know that it's actually for the best. What I usually do and what I usually recommend is while building any solution, whatever, for example, you have to like from the get-go put into consideration what the regulatory requirements are and build from scratch. You don't have to wait to build your solution and then say, okay, I'm ready to go to the market. Then you now see that CBN is telling you that if you don't have this particular license, you can't do this. Or with this particular license, this is the extent of what you can do, and all sorts. So it all starts from the scratch. If you want to ensure that your regulatory requirements is not being that you don't go against them, and then you still want to maintain the innovative trend that you want to bring into the market, you have to like build with the regulatory requirements in mind from scratch. For example, let's say NDPR covers you, for example. You have to like from the scratch know how to protect the data of your customers, know how to protect the data of your merchants and whosoever it is that is actually depositing data with you.
Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for that as well. So, this question is for you. How are blockchain, crypto, and gift card companies navigating API compliance to ensure secure and seamless integration with emerging technologies and regulatory frameworks?
Right. So I mentioned previously how the soccer issue in Nigeria was with partnerships, but then again, that's also how we handle regulatory and compliance globally. So for handling compliance, we partner with firms like Advantage, we partner with firms like Navex, we partner with firms like Thomson Reuters, and what they do is they basically provide compliance, they provide policy management, and they also provide like trainings for the people working at blockchain companies, but also the people at the top of these blockchain companies. For KYC and AML regulations, AML is anti-money laundering laws. For KYC and AML regulations, we partner with firms like Onfido, we partner with firms like Jumio, and basically what they do is help with identity management. They also help with ensuring that money laundering activities are not being carried out on our infrastructure or on our products basically. And every company also has like their own internal suspicious activity reporting system, where we also look out for activities that we feel like are criminal, or also ensure that we are complying with whatever laws of the land based on where a person is based. And I'll give you an example rather than keep saying compliance. So if you wanted to use a platform like Centrifuge, and Centrifuge is a platform that tokenizes like real estate or tokenizes treasury bill, or basically you can invest in any reward assets anywhere in the world. Now, if you wanted to use Centrifuge and you're American or based in America, you have to be a registered investor. You have to be an accredited investor. So if you show up to the platform, they'll require you to put in your registration numbers. They will require you to put in the details that the government knows you by. But meanwhile, if you're Nigerian, the details change, the requirements change to things like your BVN or things like NIN or passports. Or so you could see that there's like a massive shift in like requirements. Anybody here in this hall can use Centrifuge. All you have to do is just upload your ID. But if this were in the US per se, not everyone here can be able to use that platform. They will have to first go register with the US SEC before they could use platforms like that. So we have our own internal teams that ensures that what we are complying with the laws of each land, and also we are looking out for activities we feel that are suspicious. We also what happened to the Binance CEO. He had to leave because they found that Binance was complicit in money laundering, right? He may have not been part of it personally, but it did happen while he was CEO of Binance. That is why even Binance has their own internal team that monitors money laundering activities or suspicious activities, despite the fact that they have partnerships with firms like Onfido and Jimio that do these things for them externally.
Thank you very much. Please, a one round of applause for that answer. Please, can we stop the side talks, please, so we can hear what the panelists are saying? Thank you so much. So the next question is for Enoch. What measures have companies like Seamless HR taken to align their API development with NDPR standards?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, a very nice question. I think my colleague here, Wale, has already mentioned some regulatory frameworks that startups need to follow. So, with a company like Seamless HR, what we do, first of all, we are OSI certified, right? And Seamless HR is not just, we are headquartered in Nigeria, but we are not just a Nigerian company. We are now in some few countries in Africa, and we are looking like at going beyond. So what we do, first of all, we, if you know of OSI, OSI is an international standard for the framework where you abide to basically. So, but what we do, we don't only abide, or we are regulated by the NDPRO. We're also regulated by an international standard in such a way that we do regular, number one, we do regular assessments on our data to ensure that we are still on that same guideline. Number two, what we do very secure encryption of data. Number three, what we do secure data transmission between services, between APIs, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever you're doing, we are putting this in our mindset when we are building. We have these frameworks that we follow, right? These are just basics for building an application, building API, building a system, building a service, or whatever you want to build, right? When you have this framework, it sort of help us shape our data security. And also, there's an important point I want to point out. When you have consumers that you are servicing, you have clients that you are servicing, you want to be transparent about how you handle their data. For example, like Seamless HR, we consume a lot of data from our clients. What does that mean? We have a lot of clients that has a lot of employees, for example. These are a lot of data that we consume. So we need to be very transparent to our clients, which are our consumers, about how we handle their data. This sort of build trust with consumers, build trust with our clients, right? So you need to be able to, tell them, you need to be able to show to them, you need to be able to let them visualize, be transparent about how you take in their data, how you handle them. And also, we have external bodies, internal and external bodies. One of the external bodies is the OSI. Internal bodies, we have internal security teams that handles these systems, check them out to make sure that they conform with these regulations. Right.
Thank you so much. A warm round of applause for him. So this question goes to Olariwaju. What automated tools do gift card companies like Tilo and blockchain companies use to ensure ongoing regulatory compliance?
Okay, thank you for the question. So for gift card companies, or maybe other companies too that probably are building, so we can basically use like API management tools So for API management tools, we have like Postman. Postman is not just testing endpoints. We also have other features like mock servers, API documentations, like test runners you can actually schedule, monitors as well. So all this would ensure that we are aligning with the GDPR standard. So the GDPR standard is just a standard across the EU that we have to follow before we are like building for people across multiple continents. So we also have like under the API management tools, we also like have like the AWS API management as well that most people who build with AWS basically use. We also have for the IBM as well, IBM API Connect. We also have the Azure API management. So another one is like the transaction management. So if you are basically building around gift card or blockchains, like I said, this is a very, very sensitive industries. So you need to like outside of you logging informations and making sure that informations are actually present, you also want to like go extra mile to ensure that your clients informations are properly stored, I mean. So for instance, now if you are maybe seeing transactions from a different IP address, you need to first pen that transaction, then reach out to the client to say, okay, how are we going to handle this? Also, transactions of huge amounts, for instance, gift card, like we are going to obviously flag it to say you cannot redeem this gift card now. Maybe you can just give us maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. So once that kind of information comes, we get an alert, and then we can actually reach out to certain bodies who are maybe Uber or Amazon to say, okay, are you going to let us authorize this? Also, transactions of maybe different currencies as well. So we basically process transaction in different currencies. So if you are seeing a transaction from a different region that is not attached to your currency, we want to like basically like flag that, for instance, to say, okay, once this is ready, we can just revert back to you. All these are ways whereby we can ensure that our clients' informations are well safe and stored. We also have like, so if you maybe know that compliance is a huge thing for you, you can actually outsource this to like trusted third-party bodies as well. So they will come in with their own software. They can come in to say, okay, how often do you want us to come in to maybe help you audit your system? So if you maybe pay them, they can come in once in a while, like my company does. So we basically come into the system, and then they can actually flag some things for you, whereby we now prioritize as well. Also, the last thing is for you as maybe engineers to say, okay, vulnerability is also a thing. We basically hear of latest releases. There's a reason for latest releases, right? So it's because they want to maybe patch in some things in the existing software. So for instance, software hackers for now, the bad ones will basically be out here looking for vulnerability lapses for them to inject into your system to maybe penetrate or get something done. So you need to be up to date. So there's a version of maybe PHP coming up later this year. You want to maybe like update to those versions and then read the releases as well, which are very, very important. So thanks.
Thank you so much for these questions that you've answered.
API Conference, Elevating API Literacy.